We bring in Republican financier Dan Palmer from Los Angeles. Dan, nice to see you. Back to the top of Ellison's reporting on the Supreme Court pick. Give me a sense of the politics of this, as you're now calling and raising money for the midterms, both Senate candidates and House candidates. Does having a Supreme Court pick in the pipeline make it easier?
Well, it certainly motivates a wing of the party. You know, a lot of folks regard the court as possibly the most important part of the Trump presidency. You know, we've been on a long, slow slide towards making law from the bench, and there's an opportunity to reverse that. So, you know, it's very significant. When
you say a wing, depending on who you talk to, it is the one thing uniting the Republican Party. What's the wing you're talking about?
Well, certainly the limited government folks are very concerned about the direction of the court over the last 30 or 40 years.
You say the limited government, and what about the social right?
Well, certainly the social right has their own agenda that is, you know, obviously important at the court. You know, the issue of Roe v. Wade, is that going to come up? But I think the bigger unifying issue is, what is the role of the federal government? Is it going to be this intrusive monolith that it's grown into, or whether it's going to be pared back? I think Republicans are unified around individual freedom, and I think the Democrats are motivated by social and economic justice, and it's really a no-holds-barred cage match between these two competing objectives.
Well, the cage match part, I think you've got right. In part of the cage match, there's a liberal group called Demand Justice that's now, even before the pick has been put out, pledged $5 million to go after swing state Democrats or go after swing Republicans, namely Collins and Murkowski, over the Supreme Court pick. Is there equal or more money on the Republican side to support senators who may be on the fence or may have a tough fight coming up to support the president's pick?
I think there's enough money there to communicate with the folks that agree with the Republican agenda, who agree with the president. You know, the economics of campaigning have changed a lot. The emphasis is now on communicating with the people who agree with you, and not so much on the so-called persuadables. So I think that's a very cost-efficient process, because we know who they are through micro-targeting.
All right. Somebody who is certainly has higher aspirations when it comes to Republican politics, Jim Jordan of Ohio, member of the Freedom Caucus, now having to deny allegations that he knew about sexual abuse while he was a wrestling coach at the University of Ohio State a couple of decades ago. Here's Jim Jordan yesterday, then we'll get your reaction.
Conversations in a locker room are a lot different than people coming up and talking about abuse. No one ever reported any abuse to me. If they had, I would have dealt with it.
Our reporting from Capitol Hill by Chad Pergram that Republicans are heading for the hills when it comes to Jim Jordan on this. If for nothing else, then the accusations, whether true or not, really taint him. From a fundraising perspective, from a Republican supporter perspective, does this raise new questions?
You know, I know Jim Jordan. He's a great guy, and his integrity is not in question. I really do question the timing of these allegations 20 years after the fact. He's been taking a lot of the leadership in getting after the FBI and the DOJ. There's institutional forces that are not happy with the points he's making in those inquiries.
Whatever the allegations
I think
are, you write off.
politically motivated.
So you just write them off?
I don't have the facts as to what went on, but I do know Jim Jordan as a man of great integrity, and I have no doubt that when he speaks, he's speaking the truth.
Yeah, well, we heard a similar full-throated endorsement of Jim Jordan from the president as well. Dan Palmer in Los Angeles. Dan, thanks so much.
Thank you, Leland.